I feel like these avatars are pretty tried and true for any type of personality. And we dialed it down to kind of 6. And so if people across all industries or product businesses listening to this podcast, this will be relevant to you. So it's going to be awesome. Welcome to Thrive by Design, the podcast for ambitious, independent jewelry brands looking to profit from their products. Get ready to make more and sell more doing what you love without spending every single waking minute doing it. Hey, and if you're a creative, fashion, or product-based business, I want to welcome you to the show. I'll be dropping big tips on launching, growing, and scaling your business so you can spend more of your precious time using your creativity to make money. You ready? All right, let's do this. Welcome to Thrive by Design, episode 202. Well, hey there, my friends. It's Tracy Matthews, Chief Visionary Officer over at Flourish and Thrive Academy, and I'm excited to be here on the Thrive by Design podcast, talking to you on my birthday. May 21st is my birthday, and the stars aligned this year, and it lands on a Tuesday when we release the podcast. So here we are, hanging on my birthday. I love hanging with peeps, and I'm an extrovert, so why not? Anyway, I love birthdays, first and foremost. They are my favorite time of the year. And I love that my birthday is in May. I've always loved that it was in May because I felt like I had many times a year that I could celebrate holidays, and one of them being in the spring. I always think of May as like right before summer because I grew up in California, but it is definitely spring, which spring is right before summer, and that's besides the point. Anyway, every year on my birthday, I give away an awesome gift. And so this year we have 2 gifts. One of them is something that we're giving away for free, and another thing is something that we do not sell, but we turned it into a mini bundle so that you could grab it because it was so popular when we released it as a bonus for one of our programs that we realized that this was something super hot and that people wanted, and we're going to give it to you. So the freebie, here we go. It is my epic framework for creating videos that actually sell. And so in that framework, I'm going to share with you just a simple formula that you can use on a repeatable basis to do video content for IGTV, for your Facebook Live, for any sort of video that you're doing anywhere, anyway, any shape or any form. You can leverage these videos on YouTube as well to start attracting your customers. So that's the freebie download. And it's this framework is really designed to help you write really good hooks or titles for your videos. It's also designed to hook people in with a opening sentence that actually connects with your audience so that they stay and don't bounce. It's also going to talk about how to really get people interested in what you're about to deliver to them and how to create concise content in a reasonable format that you can produce quickly and get out of your mouth really fast so that you're not doing these epic long videos for social and other platforms. And then also how to close it with a strong CTA to get them what you want them to do next. And so I'm excited about this. It's super fun, and I'm excited to give it to you. The story selling framework and template is pretty epic. We have organized a bundle, and that bundle includes our story selling framework that shows you how to create an epic maker video. It also is going to walk you through the template on how to produce and deliver amazing video sales. So like if you're doing a Facebook Live, to how to kind of lead that, like the things that you need to do, how to tell stories, and basically everything that you do to put the customer at the center of your brand, and also how to get insanely awesome video testimonials. Plus, I'm going to be bundling that together with a sample marketing template and video content ideas that you can use to leverage in multiple ways to take one piece of content, i.e. your video, and the stories that you tell in those videos, and turn it into multiple pieces of content for social media, for your blog, for just about anywhere that you're posting it. And then you can post the videos everywhere on IGTV, on your or you can do them on Facebook Live. You can post them separately on Facebook as a separate video. And then you can also post them on your YouTube channel. So it's just a really, really awesome framework that has gotten a great response. And the people who have used it are getting insane results. So we wanted to offer it to you. And if you're interested in checking it out, head on over to flourishthriveacademy.com/birthday surprise to get your free download and to hear more about this awesome story selling framework and video marketing bundle. It's going to be awesome. I hope you check it out. Anyway, I'm excited to be here today because today I'm talking about what makes you brilliant as a jewelry designer and how to use your creative brilliance to make more money, to build a better business and to really, instead of fight your natural tendencies, to dive into them and get the right support around it. Sound good? Okay, awesome. I want to ask you a question. Have you taken our Jewelry Brand Brilliance Factor quiz yet? The Jewelry Brand Brilliance Factor quiz is designed to help you discover that special sparkle that only you have and learn how to use it to your advantage while building the jewelry business of your dreams. So it's going to take maybe like less than a minute, and we're going to give you a customized guide based on your brilliance factor. And that's what I'm going to talk about today. We're going to talk about 3 steps that you can take now to grow and scale your business. I'm going to give you some inspiration and stories relevant to your brilliance factor so you can see how to implement this in your real life and your business. And I'm going to give you some instant access to resources that we curated just for you to help you get to your next level of success. So if you want to check that out, it's completely free. It's super fun. Everyone who's taken it loved the results. Head on over to flourishthriveacademy.com/brilliance, and you can take the quiz in 45 seconds. If you want to pause this, go take the quiz, find out what your brilliance factor is, and then come back and listen to what I have to say about how your brilliance factor is going to affect your business. So I developed this quiz, and the reason why I wanted to talk about this is because every business should, if they don't, have dream clients and customer avatars and really be clear on like the kinds of people that they serve. And so this quiz came about for a couple of reasons. Number one, we had a quiz and I didn't love it. It was just kind of sort of boring. I wanted something that was fun, that really got people thinking about their creativity. Because if you haven't heard me talking about this, I launched a new platform called Creatives Rule the World several months ago. I'm going to be using that as my platform for speaking moving forward across multiple industries, not just jewelry, moving forward. And this was really important to me because it was something that I was passionate about. Creativity to me is your number one, the most important thing that you have to basically make money in your business. We are so gifted as creative thinkers. And, part of being a jeweler or a jewelry designer or a maker is that we have this gift of creativity and problem solving, but also oftentimes a use of work, like this technical ability to work with our hands. And so as I've been like really investigating, there are 6 types of basically creative types that we dialed in, especially for the Flourish and Thrive community. And if you have another type of business, I'm sure that this will resonate for you as well, because I feel like these avatars are pretty tried and true for any type of personality. And we dialed it down to kind of 6. And so if you're a fashion designer or an accessories designer, or you're selling dog treats, because I know that we have some people across all industries or product businesses listening to this podcast, this will be relevant to you. So it's going to be awesome. Anyway, when I was designing this, I was really thinking because, there's this myth about the starving artist syndrome, and I don't believe that artists should be starving. I just think that they need to tweak the way they think about their creativity and lean into that to build better businesses. And so that's how this quiz really came about, is my passion for helping creative thinkers, my passion for being a visionary myself with a highly specialized skill set that I am excellent at, but about 90% of the things I suck at. So, and I'm okay with that. I've embraced it. And I'm frustrated on a daily basis because I am technically challenged. I'm challenged in a lot of ways, but I know that I'm gifted because I have these other qualities that no one else can replicate that are uniquely mine. And so we all have that as well. And so that was sort of the impetus for this quiz, is also to give you permission to know that whatever your brilliance factor is, it's okay. It doesn't make you right or wrong. It's just information to help you understand where you're going to need support in business, what you're naturally good at, and also how we can help you at Flourish and Thrive, or how someone else can help you, if you work with someone else as another consultant. And so let's dive into this, because I'm going to talk, it's funny because I actually crossed 2 hybrids in this Brilliance Factor quiz, because if we're crossing multiple industries, I first and foremost think of myself as a creative force of nature, but I'm also a high-class hustler. And because I really am an entrepreneur at heart. I love building things. I love sales. I love helping people do the same thing. And I love seeing the results of the hard work that I put in. But I'm also a designer at heart. Like, I love coming up with ideas. I love, sitting out in nature or going to a museum or looking at structure or traveling or whatever and getting inspired by the shapes and the forms and the smells and the feels and all the things, all the feels, all the things that you see. But it's funny because in my jewelry business, I'm a creative force of nature, but at Flourish and Thrive Academy and Creatives Rule the World, I'm a high class hustler. And so I'm going to walk you through each of these basically brilliance factors or types so that you can, number one, see if what resonates for you. But then also I'd love to invite you to take the quiz because this is really where you're going to see what the results of that. So when I think of a creative force of nature, this is someone who loves design. They're someone who they are naturally gregarious. They're naturally outgoing. They actually don't mind selling their work. They like interacting with their customers, but first and foremost, they love designing jewelry. They are different than a maker with the mostest in the fact that they like making the jewelry, but it's not necessarily, they know that in order to grow their business, that they're going to have to move themselves out of that. And so they're okay handing that process off to someone else when the time is right. And creative force of nature, what they really love the most is engaging with customers, but then also coming up with like ideas and like their ideas and flows are endless. And so they can create tons and tons of collections. They're very prolific often in their design flow. And what they really feel called to do in life is to bring their creative ideas not only to life in a 3D form, but to get them out into the world, because this is what they're meant to be doing in life, is to be designing and having people experiencing their art. Their inspirations come from all over the globe. Like I said, they're very inspired by multiple things, and they benefit in a lot of ways from that because their inspiration, since they're endless and they're always like downloading information, sometimes they can get really overwhelmed with the ideas, but when they channel it, it's like they come up with the most innovative design concepts because they're really thinking outside of what maybe their two hands can create to create something different and innovative. And so their benefits is that they really are able to think outside of the box. Their creativity lends to so many ideas. It's like nonstop firing at them all the time. They realize that being a perfectionist is going to slow their business down. And so it's all about progress and not perfection for them. Like if there's a typo in their Instagram feed, they're not going to stress out about it. And they realize that the people who are probably commenting on those things are going to be the ones who aren't necessarily going to get the same results. They're always thinking of new ideas, new ways to get out there. They're not afraid to ask for what they want. And they know that because they're highly creative, that they might have some setbacks. So they're willing to just put themselves out there and take the steps it takes to move forward. And as a creative force of nature, you had this probably like intuitive sense that you knew that this was your calling in life. Maybe it's not always necessarily jewelry design, but when you commit to something, you're like, I'm meant to be doing this at least for a period of time. And this is my path forward. And so there's a lot of passion involved in your commitment to building a business. And that's really the thing that keeps you moving during the ups and downs, knowing that this is what you're meant to be doing. And so I feel as though there's struggles for creative forces of nature because they're doing all the things and they're struggling. But like the one thing that I feel like is really important to think about for people who are creative forces of nature is that they have to protect their creativity. And that means making time to be creative. Because when you're running a business, it's really easy to get caught up in all the stuff you have to do to run a business. But if you're not taking days out to actually be creative, then you're basically like shooting yourself in the foot and your business will struggle and it'll be hard for you to grow. You need to create structure in your daily schedule and take ownership of what it is that you're trying to create. Because if you don't do that, like kind of create structure around your vision and get that support, you're going to be really stuck because creative forces of nature oftentimes have so many ideas and are so creative that they're always moving on to the next and they have a tough time following through with any idea. So they need help implementing that stuff. Creative forces of nature also really need to delegate and get things off their plate. You're not someone who's going to be patient, like fiddling around with the tech and all the stuff, or doing a lot of the things that you don't like in your business. And while sometimes you have to do that over time, it's really important to, when you can afford to, move on. And if you already like have a successful business and you're a creative force of nature now, it's important to make sure that you aren't getting in the weeds of your business, that you're focusing on the things that your creativity is going to help grow the business, and instead start to delegate like time-sucking tasks to other people. You also, even though you don't like it, you need to have systems in place. And the reason why the systems are important, especially for creative forces of nature, depending on your personality type, like I'm someone who doesn't really need systems, and I'm using air quotes right now, but the important part about the systems, especially for creative forces of nature, is that they will eventually definitely need to get people in there supporting them because they're not going to be the makers. They're going to have to make people to make the jewelry, outsource to factories, hire contractors. They're probably going to have like marketing people to help them eventually. And then maybe eventually salespeople as well, even though they enjoy sales. The systems are the thing that are going to help you train those people, or else you're going to be continually frustrated when people are asking you questions all the time. Total creativity crusher right there are the questions. And then another thing that you need to really focus on is thinking small. And this could definitely hold you back as you're growing in business, is to think, and this reminds me of something. I was at a conference once for Snag, and we were asked to participate in a panel, and we were Robin and I were the outspoken people because we really came from the designer community instead of the artist community. And there was a really older woman there who was a collector, and she'd been really involved in the jewelry arts community for a long time. And she was basically designers. And I know that a lot of people who don't necessarily have the strong art jeweler / maker skill set who design might feel insecure about the fact that they maybe don't have a GIA credential or something like that. But at the end of the day, don't worry about that stuff because it doesn't matter. You need to be thinking bigger and always be growing beyond your comfort zone. And so my general advice to creative forces of nature is to spend time being creative, spend time interfacing with your customers and making sales, and spend time on the back end doing the work so that you can really hire amazing people to help support you in your business vision, because this is highly important for you. So the two that most people are in the community of the quiz, people who've taken the quiz so far, are creative force of nature and this next one, which is a maker with the mostest. And I think of a maker with the mostest as someone who maybe stumbled across a jewelry class or picked up some YouTube tutorials on Instagram, or even maybe even got their BA in jewelry making. It could range the gamut. People who actually have jewelry degrees border the cross line of either being a maker with the mostest or an artiste. And it really depends on your mindset and how you think about it. The thing that I love about the maker with the mostest, and this is I feel like the Etsy platform was built for makers with the mostest, is that they love working with their hands. And the reason why they make jewelry is because of the making part. This is what they love the most. They love getting behind the bench. They love carving wax. They love, beating and working with their hands. That tactile experience is the thing that really inspires them. And their inspirations really come from, the materials that they're working in and getting at the bench and diving in. And this is something that I think a huge portion of our community is. And I even think of designers like Jennifer Dawes. She's a friend of mine and I've had her on the show before. We were talking she came to our intensive in San Francisco, and we were talking, and she still makes a lot of jewelry. She loves getting in there and working with her hands. I don't know 100% if she's a maker with the mostest or a creative force of nature, but what I'd say, there are a lot of really established brands who the founder still loves to be making. And oftentimes, even though they've really scaled and grow their businesses, they've just been had to adapt to the fact that if they want to grow, they aren't going to be the ones who's making every single thing. And so typically what happens with makers with the mostest, as opposed to creative forces of nature, where creative force of nature might sketch out their designs, a maker with the mostest will probably make their original sample line and then delegate that out to a model maker or someone else or production staff, and have molds made to actually do production if they're selling multiple pieces. If you want to really benefit as a maker with the mostest, the most important thing for you to do is in your creative time is to really hone in on your skill set, because having that up level set of skills is going to be the thing that sets you apart as an innovative designer. And, there's so many makers out there these days that I feel like there's a lot more that you can do oftentimes just sketching with a pen and paper than working in the materials. And so this is your time to up level your skill set to really innovate in order to stand out with your product and your design. I also want to remind you that even though maybe you prefer to sit behind the bench, that you really are your best salesperson. And I don't want you to forget that, because your ability to interact with your customers and get feedback, even though it might feel personal because you made everything with your hands, is going to be your best tool for really innovating who you are as a designer and growing in your business. And then my third tip to you is to really own your inner chief visionary officer and step into that role. Because I know as makers, we think about really your struggle is going to be focusing on working in the business by doing the making instead of working on it. So you need to start to pivot the way you think about how you're approaching business so that you're focused on business development and growth instead of just being a maker behind the bench. This is important if you want to grow a business, because unless you're only doing high-end custom work and you're charging thousands of dollars for a piece of jewelry, it will be very hard to make significant amount of money with your business. And I know there's a lot of private jewelers out there in the world, including myself. I'm actually really more of a designer, but there are a lot of private jewelers out there in the world who have very successful business. They make all their pieces of jewelry, but they're playing in the high-end field. And that's how they've been able to do it, to continue making all the pieces themselves. But you have to remember to spend time acquiring the customer, building the relationships, and then also stepping into the role to work on your business instead of just stepping in it. And this leads into my next tip. I'm so good at these things that I just know, because my first next step for you is to make sure that you set aside time to work on your business and not just in it. And what I mean by that is to think strategically about how you want to grow. Who do you want to partner with? How are you going to reach new customers? How are you going to develop those deeper relationships with your existing customers so that you can keep moving forward? You want to make sure that you're blocking out time in your calendar so you're not just behind the bench all the time for sales and marketing days. Because if you don't do that, you're going to have this stop and start, and it'll be hard. You want to be consistently generating leads. I know that this is something we have to force and really work with many of our designers in our SOS community, in our SOS Accelerator program, because many of them, think about their business and they think of themselves as makers, and they're actually making all the production. And in order to get the business growth, they have to be focused on the sales. And so we work with them really in depth to help them kind of remove themselves just from being a maker to focus on the sales and marketing piece. And as I mentioned before, really honing in on your skill set is going to be important to help you stand out. The more you can have innovative techniques and stuff like that as a maker, this is going to be really important. And then you want to make sure, because you are someone with a, shiny object syndrome problem, that you're offloading extra inventory on a regular basis, because what could end up happening is that you're buying stuff. Oh, I can make something really cool with this and create all these designs, but then you never use it, or you don't know how to design with it. And then down the road, you're like years later stuck with boxes of inventory collecting dust. And the reason why this is a problem is that it ties up your profitability. And then it also ties up your ability to spend more, because if you're financing your business either on cash flow or even credit card debt, you are going to struggle with being able to really get to that next level in your business, because you'll have low profitability. In fact, I was talking with a designer the other day who will remain nameless, because when I share like vulnerable stories, I don't like to share their names, who has a decent business. She was doing like high 5 figures. It's not like rocket science, like crazy business, but she's doing high 5 figures, which is not terrible. She lives in the middle of the country. But she only had like $7,000 worth of profit last year. I'm like, girl, what are you, I asked her all these questions, and I was like, what are you doing with, how are you pricing your jewelry? Like all these things, like to me, only $7,000 of profit with that amount of sales. She's like, I have too much inventory. And you have to be really, really careful, because she overspent and wasn't able to support the spend, that overspend. And then once again, makers with the mimosas will also benefit by putting systems in place. So the next brilliance factor is being an artiste, as I say, artiste through and through. And these are people who really think of the world, they view the world as an artist. And the first person that I think of when I think of someone who's an artiste in our community is a designer that I've been working with privately. And she's also in our SOS Accelerator. I first worked with her privately. She somehow convinced me, I don't even take on private clients, but she somehow convinced me, Anastasia Symes. And she is a Russian artist turned jewelry designer. And girl, check out her website, because seriously, we helped her over these last couple of years really nail the design piece of like what she's doing and create a website that is like insanely speaking to the crazy people that she sells to. And it's because she's an artist. Like she really has a unique view on the world. And so she's really inspired by the surroundings around her. And artists, they're really always absorbing their environment and creating techniques that will really bring their concepts to life. These are innovators. Like they're the ones who are creating the techniques that the makers are learning. You know what I mean? Like they're the ones that, they're either all about the process or they're all about the story behind their piece and like what it's created. So it's really a huge, and problem solving is also a huge part of what artistes love to do. So if they're stuck with something, they're trying to do something, they will spend hours at the bench trying to figure out how they can make something work instead of just abandoning it. Where I think a lot of people would just get frustrated and say like, forget this, I'm going to melt it down and start over. Artistes are committed to that problem solving piece. In order to use your creativity to your benefit, I think the most important thing for artistes, just because I've seen this from many of them, is to really focus on your mindset and your confidence. Because in art school, you're likely told that it needs to be all about the art or the process or whatever it is. And you're not really taught like how to build a business. In fact, there was a designer that we worked with for many years, and she had the most, like honestly, the most innovative designs. I've never seen anything like this. They were like sculptural, like it was like she was an engineer. Like I was like, it was like really interesting to see that this cross section of engineering sort of intersecting with design. And literally there's no reason why she shouldn't have had like 1,000 collectors because her stuff was so cool. She lacked confidence so badly. She just didn't believe in herself. And so the most important thing that you can ever do as an artiste is to work on your mindset on a daily basis. Believe that you're good enough, and not in an arrogant way, but like good enough in not like a, my art's so good, people should just find me kind of way. Have the confidence to really put yourself out there and ask for the sale, because that lack of confidence shows up in many different ways. Because I know that there's, and no offense, artists, but there are a lot of artists who will like sit back and just create without making any sales because they're like, it's not about the sales, it's about the work. And they're kind of arrogant because they know, and I say that with a kind heart, because they know that they're like amazing artists, but they're not really creating things that are saleable. And then they lose, there's this momentum that's lost in their ability to actually sell. And I really do think that there's a difference between creating those pieces that are going to be landed in the Smithsonian for years to come or go on art jewelry exhibits versus the mini parts of your collection that actually people want to buy. And so having the confidence not only to put yourself out there, but creating the elements that will actually, the pieces that people will actually want to buy. And I feel like when you do that, your like level of confidence in sales and marketing will elevate to put yourself out there. You need to change your mind about how you approach sales and marketing, because this is something that you have to do as a business owner. You can't outsource it until you start building some momentum in your business. And I would say of many of the types of brilliance factors that we've identified here, the artists probably have the hardest time selling their work of all people. And it's because they really just believe in the art and what they're creating. And that's fine. And you can do that if you want to have a very expensive hobby and never sell your work. But if you want to make a living as a designer, you have to make the sales and marketing piece a joy and learn to embrace it and learn to create systems around it so that you can eventually outsource it to someone else. And then I think the third factor for artists is that you're naturally a problem solver. So you want to really dive in to problem solving when it comes to business. And I know that a lot of people who are artistic mindset and creative, instead of like leaning into problems, they lean away from problems and get paranoid by it. Like they don't want to deal with the financials, or they don't want to look at the books, or they don't want to handle the admin and all the things. But like when you can kind of lean in to, for instance, let's say you're having a cash flow issue. You can lean into it and think strategically, okay, well, how can I solve this problem? How many pieces do I need to sell? At what margin? And who can I outreach? Like if you start thinking more strategically and problem solving with your business, it will be of great benefit to you. And then here's some tips to actually help you move forward. Spend your time like being in that businessy mode as an artist. So is that if you make it all about the art or the process or the technique or whatever it is, the business often gets pushed to the side. And so you have to find that balance between the two. And so make building your business like more of a game. Don't be afraid of it. Just kind of dive in at the same level that you do your art. You have to learn to become a sales and marketing ninja. I don't care what people tell you. You are your best salesperson. And until you can get that critical mass of momentum going in your business, because I think of all of the avatars, the artists and one of the other ones I'm going to share will have the hardest time really ramping up momentum. And that's not to discourage you from trying. But, when I look back to like many of the artists that I've known along my path, including my first jewelry teacher and stuff like that, they're still doing the same thing. Their jewelry never took off the ground. They've like had to keep their educational job because that's what paid the bills, because they weren't willing to kind of become this sales and marketing ninja with their work. The next thing that I want you to do is to go for the big ask, because especially if you're nervous or you don't feel that, or you're comparing yourself to other people, you might not submit yourself to a museum show or a gallery or all these things because you don't feel like you're good enough. And so I just want you to go for the big ask even before you feel like you're ready, and keep moving forward. Once again, artists will really benefit with having systems in place. So eventually, once their business grows, they can hire people. And it also creates up more space in your brain for creativity. So if you're doing something that's challenging to you, you can just follow your proven system and get it done. And then I would say that you need to focus on your confidence and your mindset every single day. Pick up a meditation practice, listen to affirmations, join a community like ours, get the support that you need, because that is what is really going to help you. Our next brilliance factor is the tinkering talent. And the tinkering talent loves the craft. They're very crafty, and there's no limit to what they can create. So tinkering talents definitely typically like to dabble in a bunch of different things. And so when I see tinkering talents come into our community, these are typically starting out, people who are in startups and just starting out in business. They're not the ones with the $1 million companies yet. These are the ones who have, like, they say things like, my collection's one of a kind. I don't want to make reproducible work. You look at their collection and there's like one thing that's beaded, one thing's made out of copper, one thing's made out of silver, another thing's made out of gold. Like, it's like all across the board. And you can't really like even find the connection between the work, because they just love trying out new things. And that's like the epitome of tinkering talent. And while some tinkering talents might not be hobbyists, this is typically someone who, a lot of people who start out as a tinkering talent end up moving into another phase. I would say this more than pretty much any of the other archetypes or avatars that we've created for this, just primarily because tinkering talents, I would say in most cases, not always, but in most cases, are more in the starting out phase of their journey. And so if you are a tinkering talent, that's awesome. At the end of the day, you might want to take, once you started to establish your business a little bit more, you might want to take the quiz again and see if you have a different outcome once you kind of hone in on your skills. Your inspiration kind of comes from you. You're just like playing around to see like what's going to happen. And so some advice for tinkering talent is make sure that like literally like nothing can really stop your ideas, and you want to like kind of go all over the place. Try to find a central theme when you're developing the pieces that you do, because if you're doing craft shows or selling at flea markets or anything like that, and you're actually trying to sell your jewelry, the more that you can create connections in between the pieces, the more it will help you actually sell more product. The other cool thing about tinkering talents is that the jewelry like industry is basically your oyster. And since you're really working on finding a lane, you know, I really encourage you to test different things until you figure out the one thing that you're really, really good at, and then start to go deep into that. And the other thing about tinkering talents is that as you're starting out, remember that you have a gift of your personal network. And I remind people of this, no matter what kind of business there is, that their personal network is the planting and the seeds of their expansive audience of true fans down the road. And what I mean by that is that designers, when you're just starting out, when you've been in business for a while, your personal network, until you're really scaling to millions of dollars, can be an invaluable resource for you to lean into for sales and referrals. And so I always encourage people, like as I'm recording this, we're about to start a 12-week intensive, train your customers to buy from you online. And the first exercise we're doing is to lean into your personal network. And the reason why I want to do that is because like your personal network oftentimes are your first customers. They're your best sources of referrals. They also are people who buy from you. And so you need to remember that you have that personal network, and they're out there and they want to campaign for you. So leverage that network. So here are some steps for tinkering talents that is a good place to start if you're trying to really build a business. Then the first place is to develop cohesive collections. You really need to find the one thing that you're going to be known for. So whether it's like a type of material, a technique, a process, find the common threads that thread through and through. Make sure that you're pricing your jewelry the right way. Tinkering talents typically, in most cases, end up way underpricing their jewelry. They don't understand why they're broke and they never make money. And this is highly important for you to learn proper pricing formulas. We teach that in our Laying the Foundation course. Hit me up if you want to hear more about that course. But it's really about pricing your jewelry the right way so that you're setting yourself up for proper margins and you're making a good retail margin, as well as have the capability to sell wholesale if a gallery or a store approaches you about selling to their store. You want to spend enough time actually growing your business, not just making stuff. This is really important. So once you kind of develop the collection, I want you to really think about how you're strategically getting that work out there. Are you going to be walking into local stores to try and get an appointment? Are you building an audience outside of your Etsy shop? Are you building like an email list that's connected to your website so that you can consistently send out emails? The next thing is really develop sales confidence. This to you is going to be probably hard in most cases. I know Quay. I love Quay. She's our customer happiness person. She's a member of our community before she started working for Flourish and Thrive. And she's pretty a phenomenal woman, I have to say. She is like the breadwinner for her family. She has a jewelry business, and she also is working with us here at Flourish and Thrive and is fostering several children. So it's, along with her own, it's pretty incredible to see what she's doing. This was something I know that she worked on, and she asked if she could give us a testimonial for one of our programs last year. Cause she's like, I had her go through this quiz, and she's like, oh, well, now I'm a maker with Mimosas, but I used to be a tinkering talent. And she's like, yeah, just learning from you, Tracy, like what I needed to know, especially after laying the foundation and just listening to you talk nonstop. I realized that I was not very confident in sales and I wasn't making any money. And she started doing what we told her to do, and her business tripled last year. And I was shocked. I mean, she was making a few sales here and there. She did a couple of shows, but like she has like a decent business now. And she's had a few personal things happen this year. So I'm pulling for her that she still makes her sales goal this year. But I know that she has this really strong foundation because she's developed conversational and relationship building skills that Robin and I teach here at Flourish and Thrive Academy. And then I think the next step is to learn how to market the right way. Digital marketing on your own platform is really important. You don't want to be building a business on something like Etsy or Amazon handmade. Yes, you're going to get sales from those places, and it's great. Set up your shop or whatever. Build your business on your website, on your own personal platform. Collect customers, build email addresses. When you make a sale on Etsy, deliver some sort of offer or something to them so that they have an incentive to sign up for your email list. Because the algorithms change all the time. I was talking with a designer that we're working with, and it saddens my heart. She's like, I've drained my savings. Like all this stuff I'm like, what is going on? Why haven't you asked for help? And she was telling us a story about her Etsy sales are 75% down, and so are her Amazon sales. And she was building her business. Like that's where most of her revenue is coming in from right now. I'm like, what have you been doing to build your email list? She's like, nothing. She does in-person shows all the time, and she hasn't done anything to build her email list. She finally gets it. Her head's in the right place, and I know she's going to crush it. And if you know what I'm talking about, I'm not going to shout you out. Like, I believe in you, girl. You got this. But I just want to remind you that when you get in that place of like putting all your eggs in other people's baskets, there's nothing left for you if some algorithm or something changes. And I really don't believe in building your business on second party platforms. And I'm very outspoken in this. I really, truly believe that second party platforms are another source. They shouldn't be the main source. Even if most of your money is coming from that for now, you have to consistently build your direct to consumer platform on your own. And the final thing that I want to remind you of is that it's super important for you to be looking at the numbers on a regular basis. You need to understand how a business works. You need to understand profit margins, profitability, break-even points, all those things in your business so that you can make informed decisions when you're spending, when you're investing in marketing, when you're investing in education and all those things, because you need to be thinking strategically as a business owner if you're serious about turning your sort of like tinkering talent into a real business. So that's my advice for you, party peeps. Okay, the next one is high class hustler. You want to watch that bling sling. So we have a lot of people who in our community who are actually high class hustlers. These are people who really want to scale their business. They're designers and they would be more aligned with the creative force of nature. They're not necessarily totally into making, like they would prefer to set it and forget it once and have that process scale. These are people who want to sell millions of dollars in jewelry. Their inspiration really comes from sales and what's trending right now in the industry. So when I think of high class hustlers, I think of brands that are designing costume jewelry that's to scale or fine jewelry, and they're like really committed on business development and growth. And the founder maybe started as a maker or a designer, but they've shifted their perspective because they're really in it to kind of scale their business. High class hustlers, I really think of them as CEOs or CVOs, visionaries. And I call them the lucky ones because they're the people who just get it. They're like, they get business. It's easy for them. They aren't attached to their results. They use like information, like failure and setbacks and all that stuff just as information. They don't take it personally, and they use that to grow. And this banks on the next point is that high class hustlers love to learn. Like they're always diving into the like they're the ones who have like the messenger bot set up with the, automated responses that are sending people to their website and selling them based on like systemized sales funnels before like everyone else is doing that. And these people are like super ahead of the curve. They're focused on partnering with bigger retailers and all those things. High-class hustlers are just a natural at many things. They have a tendency to be able to be, great at business development. They're great at sales. They're great at trending. They're great at product development. And they just kind of know what's up. And so they love building relationships. It's something that like really lights them up. And this is why I'm sort of like a hybrid between the two. Like in my jewelry business, I'm more of a creative force of nature. And in Flourish and Thrive, I'm more of a high-class hustler because building a business is exciting to me. And high-class hustlers love to build a business. They love to develop the relationships that actually help form those strong bonds. For high-class hustlers, the one thing that I want to remind them if they ever have a hiccup is that their resourcefulness, because they're highly resourceful, is going to serve them really well. And so if they're ever stuck or need help, join a mastermind group, be involved in a high-level community, invest in your business, because that sometimes being able to get outside of your own way and be resourceful is going to be the thing that helps you. And if you're interested in learning more about the mastermind group I'm curating with visionaries, you can head on over to creativesrultheworld.com/VC, download the visionary code, and then get on the wait list for the visionary circle because we got a group of people for you over there. You want to make sure that you're investing in yourself and your business. This is really important. And I mentioned this before, investing in a mastermind group, business mentors, consultants, all those things are important, but you also want to invest in your team and your business. And so this might look like investing money in advertising spend and the things that are actually going to scale. Maybe it's a, marketing person who's going to be able to handle the digital marketing for you, all those things. And you can't build your empire alone. So this is going to really require you to get strategic and good at hiring A players, because those are the people that are going to take you to that next level. It's not just about hiring someone. It's about hiring the right people and the A players that are going to buy into your vision of what you're building and be committed to the values that you're building your brand on. And embrace the setbacks, because these are really things that are going to help you learn in business and help you move forward. I think the biggest trouble that a high-class hustler can get into is if they get into a mode of arrogance where they're not paying attention when something doesn't go the right way. And they either brush it under the rug, or they're not watching the trends, or they get, they're off on boat, drinking champagne or Dom Perignon, whatever. And while I highly believe that that's important, you want to make sure that you are paying attention to what's going on, embrace the setbacks, and use them as learning experiences to propel yourself forward. And then also, I think this is really important because high-class hustlers have an opportunity to really build a business that can scale and create an exit plan. So as you're starting, you want to think about what the end result is. Maybe you never sell your business, but maybe that's something that you actually want to do someday. And so if that's something that you're interested in, think about it and think about how you can use that opportunity of thinking with the end in mind before you start as you're building your business to move forward. And then spend your most productive time, obviously, on revenue generating activities. I think that we all have productive times during the day. Mine is typically in the morning. And so I've been changing my schedule a little bit so I can focus on the things that are creatively going to build my business. But anything that's going to generate revenue in your business, I would slot that into your most productive times that you work during the day. And our final outcome is a mad skills behind the bench. And this is someone who really just loves making jewelry. And it's different than a maker because they are someone who maybe doesn't have the creative ideas that a maker does. They just are technically good at making jewelry. So I would think of this type of person as someone who's a jeweler or behind the bench. They are really technically good. And so they can see something like a design or something. And, this might be a jeweler or a CAD, someone who's really good at CAD. And they can look just at a flat drawing and figure out how to technically make that idea turn into something 3D. They're excellent bench workers. They are, they can do just about anything behind the bench or on a computer. Their hands are really your gift. So these are really the benefits that you have. Your ability to kind of shape, mold, sculpt, all those things, computer design, all that stuff with your talent is the thing that is going to make you money in your business. It's important for you to learn new techniques, take classes at GIA or wherever your local jewelry program, or even not local jewelry program. A Revere Academy is no longer around, but I took many classes there over time. But you want to always be educating yourself about business, but also educating yourself about how to design better products. by nature, you just naturally love to solve problems at the bench. And so if you happen to be someone who's actually working for other people, because typically a lot of mad skills people work for other people, you want to be working back and forth with them to help them figure out how to solve the problem and make it not a problem. And so this is really important for you because you light up at the challenge of trying to figure out something. And so keep those problem solving abilities sharp. So for you, the important next steps are really to be new school instead of old school. And I know traditionally in the industry, and it depends on your upbringing and background and how you got into the jewelry industry, you have to adopt the new school of thought. Things are changing. And I think that a lot of jewelry manufacturing is dying because of this. And it's there is plenty of business. We got 40,000 people on the Flourish and Thrive Academy email list who need people to help them actually develop their product. And so I say that because if you're someone who's not necessarily building a brand around yourself and you're someone who just prefers to make for other people, it's important for you to adopt what's going on now. And so that means up-leveling your techniques, but also being available, like having a website, sharing your services, networking, being involved. And that's going to be how you're going to attract consistent flow of customers. I think another thing that's really important, especially if you're working for other people, is to set timelines and stick to them. The biggest frustration that a lot of designers have when they're working with jewelers or people with mad skills is that they overpromise and underdeliver. And nothing's ever done on time. They make excuses about why it's not done. They don't give any heads up or any awareness. I remember I was working with this jeweler a while back, and he is so skilled, and his team of artisans were so skilled. They were the best jewelers I've ever worked with. In fact, I got to keep one of the pieces because it got lost in UPS and then returned to me later. And so I had another jeweler redo it. But he was so disorganized. I went in there at least 10 times to pick up a piece of jewelry that he said would be complete, and it was never completed. And I eventually just took the pieces from him and had another jeweler assemble it because I was just like, they can't wait any longer. They're going to get married like next week. And I think that sticking to timelines is really important for your ability to build a business and make money if you're going to be working up behind the bench all the time. You need to set up bench flows and systems to move more quickly. So anything you can do to increase your productivity and bench time is going to be really helpful to you at the end of the day. Set up systems for administration. So as you start to grow, you might need to get an assistant or someone else to help you with admin work. Be legit, be new school with this, have a computer program instead of those little paper invoicey things that people use, and use something like QuickBooks or Xero to integrate with your business so that you're properly billing people. Make sure that you make enough time for your own creativity, especially if you're working for other people, because this is how, if you ever want to elevate from a mad skills person to become a designer or a maker who has their own brand, you need to start thinking about not just being good with your hands, but thinking about how you can creatively make your own designs. And then stick behind the quality of your work, because I know that this is really important. Make sure that you're making quality products that people actually want to continue to work with you with, because that's how you will build your business, is if you can create things that last. And I know it's jewelry and it breaks and things happen, but at the end of the day, what we're trying to do is to build something that will last. So that is my brilliance factor. So I would love to invite you once again to go take the quiz if you haven't done it. Find out what your brilliance factor is. I think you might be surprised as to how this relates to you, and you might have a different outcome than you think. And I'm excited to have you kind of check this out. So head on over to flourishthriveacademy.com/brilliance. I will also have this over at the show notes. If you are anywhere on our social platforms, you can find a link to the quiz, like in the links somewhere. And take the quiz and let me know what your outcome. Shoot me a direct message on Instagram or comment on one of our posts. I love hearing about it, and tell me what you thought of the quiz. Anyway, thank you so much for listening today. It's my birthday. Make sure that you go download my birthday surprise over at flourishthriveacademy.com/birthday surprise so you can get my freebie and then also jump in on the story selling framework. It's only available today. So if you're listening to this after May 21st, you've missed the boat, but we've given you about a week notice to get on the wait list and to actually grab this. So I'm excited for you. Let's do this. So because it's my birthday, can you do me a favor? And that is to give us a rating and review for the show if you haven't done so yet. Of course, I would love for you to give us a 5-star rating, but I really want to know what you think. So your feedback is really important. So tell me what you love about the show on your favorite podcast platform, and help us make this show better. Like at any given time, like message me directly on Instagram and tell me what you'd like to hear about. This episode was actually inspired by someone telling me what they wanted to hear about on the podcast. And I posted it this morning. They told me I happen to be batching episodes today. So I moved something around because this is totally in alignment with what I wanted to do for my birthday. And so I'd love to inspire you to just like share with me what you want. I had another designer, Mary Geraldine of Garden of the Sun. She was in our mastermind program years ago and she is crushing it. She gave me like 4 or 5 suggestions of different show content and introduced me to a bunch of people that she thought would be interesting to interview. So I would love suggestions because it helps really curate the content. I'm going to be having a lot more interview series coming up and a lot more guests on the show. So definitely join me. I am excited to support you with your business, regardless of your brilliance factor. Let's do this. All right. Tracy Matthews signing off. Happy birthday to me and hope you guys all have an awesome day. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. It's my mission to help thousands of creative businesses inside and outside the jewelry space use their creativity to make money. Make sure that you're subscribed to Thrive by Design on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, and wherever podcasts are played. And we'd love to hear what you think. Please rate and review the show. And if you're inspired, please share this with your friends. Cheers to seeing you flourish and thrive.